When I first bought my lakeside cabin, I thought my biggest headache would be the occasional raccoon in the trash or the odd branch that needed clearing. I didn't know my real problem would come in the form of Karen, queen of the HOA 3 streets over. My cabin sits on 15 acres with 200 feet of shoreline on Pine Hollow Lake. Decades ago, my granddad built a sturdy concrete launch ramp, the only public access point on this side of the lake. When he passed it down to me, he made sure to include clear water rights and ramp ownership in the deed. The HOA, Pine Hollow Shores, owns about 30 homes up the hill. They have no direct lake access. The only way for them to reach the water is through my ramp, or to drive 20 minutes to the crowded public marina on the other side. I didn't mind the neighbors using the ramp. I even put up a donation box to help cover upkeep. Most folks tossed in a few bucks or brought me cookies at Christmas. It worked fine until Karen moved in. She decided she was going to manage the lake access for the community. She put up her own HOA members only sign by my ramp. She started collecting her own maintenance fees. And if you weren't an HOA member, she'd chase you off with threats of towing. When I confronted her about putting a fake HOA sign on my property, she claimed I was confused about the boundary line, that the ramp obviously belonged to the community because they'd been using it forever. I showed her the deed. She called it fake. So I took the sign down myself twice. She put up a new one every time. Last month, on the first warm Saturday of spring, I decided I'd had enough. I grabbed my old kayak, dragged it down to my ramp, and shoved off for an afternoon of peaceful paddling. Not 2 minutes later, I hear screeching behind me. Karen was standing at the shore, hands on hips, yelling at me to vacate HOA property immediately. I told her, again, that the ramp was mine and so was the launch. She threatened to call the cops for trespassing. I told her, go right ahead, and paddled away. An hour later, when I got back, there were 2 county deputies waiting at the ramp. Karen right there, all smug like she'd caught a master criminal. The deputies came over and asked if I knew why they'd been called. I explained it calmly, handed them my paperwork, the deed, the survey, the original easement files my granddad had kept. Meanwhile, Karen was behind them ranting that I was a squatter on community property. She kept waving around her HOA bylaws like they overruled the county land records. The deputies finally turned to her and asked if she had any documentation that the HOA owned the ramp. She didn't. She just yelled about community access and tradition. One deputy politely explained that tradition doesn't override property lines, and if anything, she could be facing charges for putting up fake signs and collecting money on land that wasn't hers. She went silent real quick. The best part? One of the deputies was a fisherman too. He'd launched from my ramp plenty of times. He knew exactly who owned it. He just looked at Karen and said, "Ma'am, you're lucky he's letting you launch at all." Karen stomped off to file official HOA paperwork, which the county clerk rejected the next day because, shocker, you can't just claim other people's property. I didn't stop there. I put up a new, big sign. Private ramp, permission required. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I installed cameras. I even locked the ramp with a chain when I'm not around. Now, if HOA folks want to use my launch, they have to ask nicely and show me Karen isn't getting a penny of their money. Funny how polite everyone got when she lost her grip on my shoreline. Some days, I paddle past her house and wave. She slams the blinds every time. Best part of owning a lake? Watching the busybodies realize you can't bully the water when someone else owns the ramp.